everybody. It's Sleazegrinder, Super Rock Power half-hour TV show. Tonight's guest, funny man, Ken Reid. Here we go. Good job. Hey.
Wow.
Wow. Hey, come on. Let's hear it. Let's hear it, everybody.
I'm no wolf, but it ain't my night to howl. I'm a big bad wolf, and I just been on the prowl. I went to see my baby, and she said to me, "You ain't the wolf that you used to be." I'm a no wolf, but it ain't my night to howl.
Things are really moving along here.
That's great, Sleaze.
Welcome to the Sleazegrinder Super Rock show, coming at you here on Channel 9
Live.
in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and on the web everywhere in the world, streaming live. We are here, of course, to solve the rock and roll crisis in this town. My name is Ken. You might know me as the frankly legendary rock writer, Sleazegrinder. And with me, as always, the last gang in town, the TV edition. To my left, of course, it's Chris Heavy Necker Cardone. To my immediate right, it's my beautiful bride, Stacey Dawn. And to my other right, my farther right, of course, it's the Chachi to my Fonz, Stacey DC.
I thought you were going to go your Joni.
No. And of course, funny man, Ken Reid, host of the TV Guidance Counselor podcast, and also coast-hopping stand-up star. What's he doing on public access television? Slumming
He
it.
loves TV so much.
Where I started.
He's making a terrible mistake. That's what he's doing.
I had a show when I was 10 years old on Melrose Cable Access.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
What were you talking about when you were 10 years old?
It was about comic books.
Today, our letter is D,
Yeah.
which stands for dogs.
That's about comics. I had like some pretty decent names on the show because no one cared about comics in 1989.
Really? So you were able to get famous comic artists on your show as a 10-year-old
Yeah.
because nobody else was asking, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's beautiful.
It's pretty cool.
Very cool. And
How were you as a host at 10?
I wasn't the greatest host.
Yeah.
I had a prepubescent, very high voice.
Yeah.
It was before I was able to extract my Boston accent from my mouth.
Right.
So just a squeaky, poorly enunciated, enthusiastic comic book 10-year-old.
comic book.
Which actually now I would watch that show. But
Yeah, me
probably
too.
for different
That sounds like a
reasons.
pretty good show.
Yeah.
By the way, you're right. You're pretty good with no Boston accent.
It took a lot of work.
Just like you're like.
Can you bring it back for us tonight?
Oh,
Yeah.
I could bring it back.
Give us a little bit. Give us a little taste.
It's hard to do it without swearing.
Well, you can swear. It's cable access,
Oh,
man.
can you?
Yeah, of course.
You didn't know that when you were 9? Cause
But
you were
what
9.
other reason
No,
is
let
there to
me
be
tell
on
you.
cable access
That's
except you
right.
can swear at will?
I'll tell you a story about cable access in a Boston accent.
Okay, good.
They told us what the difference between hardcore and softcore porn was.
Yeah.
Because you can show softcore porn on cable access, but you can't show hardcore.
Right.
So like I'm 10 years old, and we had this guy named Sal come in, and he was telling us like what the differences were, and he was like, "Can you show a penis? Yes. Can it be erect? Maybe. Can
Yeah.
it go in anything? No.
No.
Maybe?
Yeah.
How is that an answer to that question?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Because it's one of those things you know it when you see it, right?
An erect penis?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's different levels, man.
No, I
Are you
mean,
talking
what
about
you
like
can-
the grandpa chub?
I'm
or-
saying what you could do on cable access. You know it when you see. You know when you've gone too far.
I had the same question you did. And
Yeah.
he said it was because if you had an erect penis shown in a non-sexual context,
Yes.
what
Right.
that would be, I don't know. It would not be considered pornographic.
Well, if one
could
of
be
us,
medical,
if
man.
one of us had an erection right now and we showed it off, it's a non-sexual
yeah,
contact.
if you were like, I suffer from priapism.
Yeah.
This is the face of priapism.
Right.
Priapism is some kind of disorder where you constantly have an erection?
Permanent erection.
Permanent.
Permanent erection?
Permanent erection.
Yeah.
How does that work,
Sounds
man?
so bad.
It's often a blood flow issue.
Wow, that's out of
Too
control.
much flow.
Well, that's why Viagra was a heart medication, and
Yep.
the boner was just a side effect.
Before
Well,
we
actually, it's only 100 milligrams that gives you the boner.
Right.
before
Working
we,
in a pharmacy, tell me that.
before we dive, that's right. See, I bet you're learning all kinds of stuff
Oh, I
these
am,
days.
I am. I just started working in a pharmacy like,
And you chum around with the
2 months ago.
pharmacist?
As a
Sometimes,
pharmacy
yeah.
tech.
yeah.
Nice.
Before we dive into the world of Ken Reid, it's an interesting and exciting world. But before we get into that, let's
didn't buy it.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
As soon as-
Interesting and exciting.
right when it was coming out of my mouth, I was like, wow, I didn't really deliver that
Really
too
blew
well.
that, man.
Let's quickly put the spotlight on Chris Heavy Necker Cardone just for a second. He was the star of the Rock and Roll Explosion the other night.
I was, yes.
Do you want to talk about the Rock and Roll Explosion?
The Rock and Roll Explosion was a concert. I came up with the idea like where I see like concerts and like on like Facebook events and like how they're advertised. It's always just like a list of band names, where it's gonna be, how much it's gonna be, whatever. And it's just like you see so many of them, and you're like, okay, like whatever, like that's that band. They're gonna be playing again in another month. Like, I find myself being more drawn to events that like. Not only is the event supposed to draw you in, but the name of the event and the way it's advertised
That's
is
a
supposed to
theme.
be. Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
man. Like, how much cooler does it sound? It's like, yeah, I'm going to see, you know, Heavy Neck or Fox 45 and Analog Heart. Or then your other buds, it's like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to see the Rock and Roll Explosion on Friday night.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. So I think I might try to do it like every year around this time. Do a Rock and Roll Explosion next year. And...
What, just once a year? There should be a Rock and Roll Explosion every weekend, don't you think?
Whoa!
You're gonna go
Yeah.
straight from pharmacy tech to marketing exec.
Yeah.
I'm trying. But
So how was the first inaugural Rock and Roll Explosion?
it was kind of an experiment by me because that was the first time that we did a show that I booked and put together where we were the only draw. Fox
Yeah.
45 is from Rochester, New York, so they weren't bringing anybody. They actually brought one person.
Sounds like a UHF TV station.
It really does.
Fox 45,
Yeah,
Rochester.
And then Analog Hearts from Ipswich, and they brought a couple people, but we were like the main draw, and it ended up being like a great success.
And what made it an explosion?
What made it an explosion
Fluids.
was
So many all the fluids, right?
Basically, you combine Fuckfest 15
Right.
with some sort of.
that's
rock
another
and
one
roll.
of my events that I threw.
Fuckfest?
Fuckfest 15. There was also Fuckfest 14 the previous year.
That sounds
He
a little
co-hosted with
underage.
his mother.
Yeah.
You got it.
If someone,
You got it,
yeah.
man. You nailed it.
Because if someone's Googling Fuckfest 14,
Yeah.
you don't want them anywhere near you.
Dude, it's not a big deal, man. Anybody who knows what Fuckfest is, they're down.
Yeah, but the kind of guys that are like, Fuckfest 14.
Well, then they'll show up and we'll party with them and we'll talk about their
Their
issues that they're having.
Fair enough. Okay, so it's a valiant
Yeah.
effort that you're doing.
Yes, I'm trying to take it back. But anyway, back to Rock and Roll Explosion.
Yeah.
This honestly, there wasn't much that made an explosion. It was just a concert. But next year we're gonna make it bigger and better. I'm
Yeah.
gonna think of like getting better stage lights. I'm gonna try to get some indie filmmakers and
Right.
put on some movies like on the band. So
Okay.
not only just lights, but like I got the idea from like Velvet Underground. Like they would have like weird movies and stuff. I want to do that, and I also want to have some local artists that are friends of mine do a show there. It'll be like a multimedia event.
Cool.
Fantastic.
So you could get beyond the name next year, probably.
Do you?
Well, it's
called
gonna
the
be a rock and
explosion.
roll explosion, but it's gonna
Right,
be
you
all
could
kinds
take
of
it
stuff.
To the next step,
Yeah,
though.
what if you did like a rock and roll implosion?
Well, that's just dangerous.
And so and so Chris was on Facebook asking me when I was going to show up at the Rock and Roll Explosion, and I told him I was picking you up at the airport.
Oh no! I asked you when you were gonna show up to the once gig with the
Oh, the
drag.
once gig. Oh, that's when I
That was
picking
Saturday
her up.
night. Rock and Roll Explosion was Friday night.
That's when I was picking her
Yeah,
up. at
we
the
were
airport.
circling around Revere 9 times.
Do you want to talk about Baltimore before we talk to Ken
You were
Reid?
in Baltimore.
I was in exotic Baltimore. Have you
Nice.
spent some time
I
there?
spent some time.
What's
Exotic
your favorite thing
Baltimore.
about Baltimore?
It's
John
interesting.
Waters.
Oh yeah,
Chris's
John
letters
Waters.
reflected on
My
his
sister
hand.
has
Yeah, I
a
do.
John
I can't
Waters
figure out where
prayer
they're coming
candle
from.
thing.
Oh, really?
I
Excellent.
kind of like it though.
When I was in my old punk band, we played in a pool hall. in
What were you guys
Baltimore.
called?
30 Seconds Over Tokyo.
30 Seconds Over Tokyo.
Yeah.
That sounds like enough.
Let's.
That's pretty
let's-
punk. There's like some kind of Japanese culture reference, and
Yeah.
there's like a countdown involved.
Right. All right. So this character over here, everybody thinks Ken and I are buds, even though we've never actually met until
Yeah,
now,
this is
right?
actually the first time we've met.
But everybody assumes that we know each other.
Yeah.
Which is fine. That's fine.
Who
Yeah,
has
makes
once
sense.
in this setting said that?
It's not like it's embarrassing to know Ken Reid. It's fine.
No, wow. No. For
People
most
go-
it's not.
People go, you know Ken Reid, right? And I go, yeah, of course I know Ken Reid.
Yeah. Because we have very similar interests and know like 90% the same people.
Yeah, we know most of the same
And
people.
we're both named Ken.
So I go, yeah, of course, Ken Reid and I, we go way back.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't I?
You open that old phone book, you find right in a row.
Yeah.
I think it's because you used to be in bands. You used to be in 30 Seconds Over
Yeah, yeah,
Tokyo
yeah.
back in the day. I didn't know them, but I'm sure they were great. I'm sure you were
Were you guys
fantastic.
good?
We were what we shared with Jazz was that we enjoyed our music more than the audience did.
That's completely false, man.
Well, we were sort of an anomaly because we started with like all these street punk bands, but we sounded like a West Coast early 80s hardcore band.
Yeah.
So no one. We were also the band that if a band canceled, we would fill in. So if people saw us at a show, they'd be like, "Oh man, who's not going to be here?"
Right.
So we knew every 90s Boston punk band's opening song, and we would play it in complete darkness, and halfway through the song would have the lights turned on and then be like, sorry.
Yeah, and then it'd be you guys.
Yeah, and people would be like, oh, come on.
Like they couldn't tell it wasn't the band who actually.
Oh yeah,
played
we
the
knew
song.
everything. We did that for the Dropkick Murphys like 3 or 4 times. We had their whole intro.
Oh, that's not
And
bad.
it'd be complete darkness, and we'd play, halfway through their opening song. And
Did
then,
you have some good banter for opening up for somebody else, knowing there was like a wave of disappointment coming at you?
Well, we were going to put out a record before we imploded in our rock and roll implosion called Music to Fold Your Arms and Scowl To.
Yeah.
Because that's
yeah.
what
Love
everybody
that.
did when we played. And I would always, we toured a lot, and I would show up at a venue and I'd go, that kid, and that kid will buy a shirt. And it was always the kid who looked like he was waiting for someone to leave, because he just drove them there.
So was that your only band, or you were in another band?
That was the only band I was in.
Only band you were ever in?
Well, for about a week I was in Los City Angels, which we were
really?
talking about earlier. Yeah, when I first started. I'm not a musician at all.
Because I was going to ask you what the worst band you were ever in, so you were only in one, so.
It was probably the best band I was ever in. Was also
The best band you were in was also the worst band
Yeah,
you ever were in.
yes, it's
It's
true.
pretty good. Here's a question that I was asking people on the radio show last week that I also wanted to ask you. I thought this would be a good question for you. When was the first time, Ken Reid, that you, A, discovered pornography for the first time, and B, was it on purpose, or did you stumble upon it?
Well, I guess first of all, it depends on your definition of pornography.
You know it when you see it.
Yes, my parents.
You know when
were-
you feel it.
Yes, my parents were not parental.
Yeah.
So they took me to every movie you could imagine at age 2 and on. So I was seeing like Hellraiser and Nightmare on Elm Street and things.
Sure.
Like some
You mean
people
they didn't
consider
censor
pornographic.
you?
No, they just didn't want to get a babysitter.
Right.
But my dad had a subscription to Playboy, and I literally used to break into his Foot Locker to read the articles in it, because it would have articles about like underground comics. Or I was just talking about the other day in 1987, they had an interview with John Waters interviewed Little Richard.
Right.
And so I would like literally be reading the articles, and if he caught me, I'd have to pretend I was looking at the press because he would get like angry about it.
Yeah.
So I guess that's technically pornography. We had a black box in my house that I built.
Yeah.
So we used to get the Spice Network, which was softcore though.
Yeah.
Spice.
I remember there were kids in my high school, or this was probably middle school, they would somehow...
So wait a minute, you're saying that you built your own cable descrambler? Is that what you're telling me?
I did, yeah, several. Yeah, and I had a code for the adults.
Oh, were you some kind of
You could
computer
buy,
whiz kid?
Well, no, you could buy plans. It was very simple. The old analog cable boxes, it was
Yeah.
basically just an A/B switch to descramble it. It was really easy. And then my mother would often
He
not...
really loves TV.
I do, I really do. My mother would often not pay our cable bill, so I actually split my neighbor's cable and fed it into my room on a switch so that if our cable went out, I could switch over to their cable, but I couldn't tell my parents
Nice.
that. So if our cable was out, I'd be like, I'm going to go to my room and read. But I'd be watching cable in there.
I just imagine him like picking up a paper route to pay the cable bill.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
You
yeah.
were dedicated to TV
I mean,
right
that's all
away.
I
Right
had,
off.
Yeah. And,
Wow.
and when I built the black box for the adult channels,
Yeah.
I put a parental lock on it. And my dad used to have to come to me and ask for the code. And I'd be like, why? What are you watching?
Yeah.
No, it's Frozen. That was what he'd always say. And I'd catch him watching Foxy Boxing.
Foxy
Box.
Boxing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah, I like that.
I saw you on the Dope Show.
Oh, yeah. That was
A
a
few
great
weeks
show.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gitlers.
That's when you had that awesome shirt.
Oh, yeah, the Vampire Blood shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's I came home and I was telling Stacy about the bit you were doing about the Tin Man,
Oh, yeah. Jack
Who's
Haley.
who's from Boston.
Yeah.
And then you were like, hey man, Tin Man's from Boston, watch Wizard of Oz again. And then so we watched the clips on YouTube, and son of a bitch,
He has the most ridiculous Old Man Boston accent.
he has the most ridiculous Boston accent.
Tin
Yeah.
Man?
Yeah.
He grew up in Inman Square, actually, not far from here.
What's like a Tin Man line?
Here's the very first line he has in the movie is, "My arms." That's the first thing he says, and then his affliction is
Yeah.
no heart. Not even just like a few words.
Yeah, go
every
back and watch
line
it. You're
in the
like,
movie.
holy smokes.
Yeah.
Sounds like the humanoids.
Lions and tigers, he comes in and goes, and bears. Like he's
Yeah,
it's perfect.
yeah.
It's
The
perfect.
band sounds
Yeah,
right.
he's got a great autobiography he wrote, and it's basically about growing up in Inman Square in the 20s. And you can't read it without hearing his voice. There's like a chapter called Uncle Pat. And it's about Uncle Pat taking him to Revere Beach. It's fantastic, yeah.
Yeah, seems like a good guy. I mean, he's dead now, but he seemed like he was a good guy.
Well, he can't be a bad guy being dead. I met the only actual
That's
cast
true.
member from Wizard of Oz I met was Meinhard Robbie, the Munchkin coroner. He was about 1,200 years old. I think,
Yeah.
when I met him.
So everybody's dead now, right? Is there
I think
anybody
there's
alive?
a couple of Munchkins left.
A couple of munchkins still holding on, clinging on. So you're a big comic in this town. Are you the top comic in this? He's the top comic in
I
this
don't know
town,
if he's
right?
top
I think
comic.
he is.
No.
He's upper echelon though, right?
Yeah.
But that's just
I mean,
because
honestly-
people moved.
I'm dating a comic, and I was like, Ken Reid's gonna be on the show, and he was like, he's the first comic you've had on the show in a long time.
Right?
No.
Yeah. Well, that's the part. See, what happened is, me and Stacy used to go to comedy shows all the time.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: 80% of the comics in this town are just deluded idiots doing masturbation jokes, right?
Yeah. Well, you have to be crazy to want to
weird.
do
Right.
stand up. Yeah.
So it used to be super funny to go to these shows and just laugh at jerks. That was the whole idea. But then she started dating a comedian, so now we can't do it anymore
would
because
not
half of those
recommend
jerks are in her boyfriend's living room.
Yeah.
They're probably writing jokes together.
I can give you the warning.
No, he
later.
just ruined comedy because he knows, like, this person's still a joke off this, and all the.
Oh, he's all
comedians
into
do
that
it.
kind of thing.
No, he's not into it. It just happened.
Yeah, it's a very weird. It's a social circle filled with people who have no social skills.
Yeah.
And are also deluded and egotistical enough to think that everybody wants to hear what they say.
Right, exactly. It's a hell of a
That's
thing.
exactly who we are.
Right.
Right.
It's a hell. It's
Well, funny how that came full circle like that.
yeah. It's but as far as he was the first one in a long time that I saw. Also Lamont. Lamont's good.
Oh
too.
yeah, Lamont's great. Yeah.
That I was like, all right, and this guy is worth putting your $10 down for however much
you
it
for
cost.
saying.
$8, whatever it was. It was worth it.
Yeah.
I got lucky with who I started with, and then like everyone I started with who's all has moved.
Yeah,
are all
everybody,
doing
all the
very
other ones
well.
are moving.
And so what ends up happening is that I'm one of the few people left here, so I just get like a lot of good openings.
That's the thing, man. Just stay in town because wherever you move,
Yeah.
I tell this to everybody because I go, oh, I'm going to move to New York. I'm going to move to LA. Like whatever you are, they already have a million of you in New York and LA.
True.
They might not
He's
have.
writing the Boston thing, though.
You might only have one of you here, but I'm guaranteed there's more Ken Reids in New York and more Ken Reids in LA.
There are. There's actually several Ken Reids here, but I've neutralized them.
Yeah.
But and also too, when I go to New York and LA, I have the luxury of kind of being able to waltz on like really good shows that I have
Yeah,
no
yeah.
business being on. But it's because I'm there like a couple times a year. If I lived there, I would probably not get on them at all.
Really, and by the way, the only way I'm going back to comedy shows in this town, you need some kind of shock comic in this town. Like get a shock we need like a Dice Man or like a Neil Hamburger or some combination of
Like
both.
There's
Gilbert
a lot
Gottfried.
of those in this town. Just none of
Gilbert
them-
Gottfried would be fantastic.
Yeah, none of them are self-consciously that though.
Yeah.
That's the problem. You don't have anyone who's intentionally doing that. I'm shocked by comics all the time.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's for the reasons they want me to be.
By the way, when's the last time you bombed?
When is the last time I bombed?
You can't even remember. That's how long ago it was.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't go out as much as everyone else does anymore. This year, I used to have a couple of weekly shows, and like the last 6 months, I've been out like once a month. I was like, after 10 years, of
Yeah.
like 2-3 times a week, so.
Yeah, so you're not one of these guys that are showing up at every open mic and all this kind of thing.
I never did open mics.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
couldn't.
think what
You
he's
ever do an
saying
open
is
mic?
there's no good shows
Well,
to go to.
actually, I just did my first open mic this year.
How'd it go?
It was great. Like, it was really annoying because everybody was doing like cover songs and stuff, and then I went up and did like 2 originals, and they were like, "Oh, who did those songs?" Like, I wrote those songs, and they were like, "Oh, well,
You could do that?
whatever."
Yeah, you can write
I
your
was
own
just like,
songs.
what are you talking about? You're supposed to be able to go up and do whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
And they were just like not into it. They're like, "No, next time if you want to do this, you gotta play cover songs." It's like, what?
Most people, their enthusiasm outweighs their talent.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. That's the majority of people in this world.
So here's the point, everybody. If I can make a point, you're a real pop culture fan, Ken Reid,
Indeed.
and you figured, hey, I like reading old TV guides. Now,
Yes.
here's the thing: if you're just a guy sitting around reading old TV guides, it's kind of weird, man.
I
But
would
here's-
argue it's sad.
Both.
Yeah.
A little tragic.
Yeah.
Definitely eccentric.
Yeah. Like I've cleaned out houses
Yeah.
where
Dead people,
we were like
right?
too
Like
many
dead
baby
relatives.
guides.
Yeah.
They have
You
boxes
did
of
have
old-
that sort of. I'm sorry that you didn't really live.
Yeah.
a
But
full
here's the
life.
thing. Listen to this, everybody. Ken Reid says to himself, "If I turn it into a podcast, totally justifies it."
Exactly.
So that's what happened.
Right.
This guy gets a podcast. Listen to this. This guy has a podcast. It's just him and people reading TV guides and going, "I remember that show."
Out
That's-
loud, not to ourselves. That'd be
Exactly,
bad
out loud,
radio.
on microphones.
Yeah.
And that's the show. TV Guidance Council.
It doesn't sound like too bad of an idea, considering that there's like podcasts of the same thing, but with like old records.
Right, of
Yeah,
course.
I mean, the thing, I wanted to do a podcast for a while so I didn't have to leave my house to perform. And so many of them are just like people hanging around chatting where you're like, I think I have to be friends with these people to enjoy this. And it always sounds like you're just eavesdropping on people
Yeah.
at a restaurant.
Right.
At the best of
My
times.
my least favorite thing is like I'll try to get into a podcast and I just feel like, what are they getting at?
Yeah.
I have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
The title of it will have nothing to do with what they're talking
Yeah.
about. And you're like, I should have been listening to this like 4 weeks ago, so I had a lead up or
We got
something.
no gimmicks. So this
Yeah.
one, at least, you know, we can speak to the TV guide, and I've been lucky that I've gotten to have on people that I should have no business speaking to, and people that have been on a lot of the shows that everybody watched growing up, which has been really bizarre.
Yeah, that's really cool. So what happened was when Ken first started it, by the way, he asked if I wanted to be on it. Remember that?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to be on this guy's podcast.
understand.
Now he's got famous people on, it, and I'm on public access. So what I'm saying, people, is there's a lesson to be learned there.
We have Ken Reid, but Ken Reid has Janine Garofalo.
Right, exactly.
and-
Look at what happened.
yeah.
I thought this
You
guy's
really blew it.
yeah, this guy's gonna look at old TV guides on a podcast. That's never gonna
What
work.
TV guy would you have picked?
I don't know. There's so many. Here's the thing. So do you go by, I guess, by the age of whoever you have on?
Yeah, I mean, generally I've found that people tend to pick a TV guide from between when they were 8 and 12.
Yeah,
That seems
because
to be
that's
the
when
sweet
maybe when
spot.
you're the most intensive with your
Yeah,
TV
and
watching.
you don't quite hang out with your parents, but you're not going out and being social yet, and you've developed your own taste.
So who are just rattle off some of the celebrities you've goofed around with on that?
I've had Karen Duffy from MTV,
Oh, yeah,
Janine
of course.
Garofalo, Greg Proops, Emmanuel Lewis, Webster.
I saw him at the Boston Comedy Fest last week.
Yeah, he's
and I
here
was-
every year for that. Yep. Marilyn Rice Cup for 24. Who else? Kumail Nanjiani.
Amy
James Dolan,
Sedaris.
Amy Sedaris.
Unbelievable,
Brandon
right?
Small,
Unbelievable.
Billy West, who's Ren and Stimpy.
Oh.
So listen, everybody. Here's what it's like to be on it. We're gonna pretend we're flipping through the TV guide,
Okay.
right? Everybody's gonna mention some old TV shows that are no longer around, but that you loved back in the day. That's what we're gonna do right now.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
Stacey DC,
No,
quick.
I'm gonna need a second. You know I am.
And you're very young, right?
Well,
Yeah.
I'm 23.
He's 23. Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of a show from probably 10 years ago that you're gonna pick.
Yeah.
Dinosaurs.
Oh, wow.
Real Monsters.
Nice.
Dinosaurs predates your birth.
Yeah, Dinosaurs.
Well, yeah, it was still on
when
TV
my-
though.
Well, it went from 90 to 93. What year? Yeah. So yeah.
That was the sitcom that was dinosaurs, right? And
Yeah,
it was like
it was-
guys in dinosaur
It
costumes.
was Jim Henson's last.
It was
thing.
awesome.
He teed it up right before he had died, and
Yeah.
it is literally the most subversive show that's ever aired on a network. It
Really?
was all about how human beings are awful. And the last episode of Dinosaurs, they all freeze to death in a new ice age that they've created through pollution.
Yeah.
And there's literally, they're all freezing, and the baby, who everyone was like, oh, it's the cutest thing, is like, I'm so cold, are we gonna die? And he's like, yes, son. And then it just fades out.
Wow.
And then people complained, and they're like, they're dinosaurs. You know they all die.
That seems really traumatizing,
It
man.
was very traumatizing for many people.
I don't know.
My favorite character was actually always that baby because he was
Yeah.
he was a little dick.
Yeah.
He'd like mess stuff up for everybody.
He was played by the same guy who's Elmo.
Oh really?
Yep.
That was actually another thing I was gonna say. Sesame Street. I was really into Sesame Street. My whole family was like my oldest. I'm the youngest of 3 boys. My oldest brother was like super into Cookie Monster. Had like all this Cookie Monster collection. I was super into Elmo. I had all this
Yeah.
Elmo. I never got the Tickle Me Elmo. It always weirded me out. And then my brother just never gave a shit.
You know who doesn't get enough credit? Grover.
Yeah.
Grover's a
Grover
good
gets the
character.
shout
That
out.
was always my favorite.
Yeah.
Sesame Street started the year I was born.
68?
69. Stacy.
Well, I have to make a confession. I only had 1.5 channels if it was working growing
Yeah.
up. I
Where'd you
grew
grow
up
up?
in rural Vermont.
Yeah.
Ah.
So what's
so
the show?
I was like, stuck with PBS, like This Old House.
Yeah, I
and
love
then,
This Old House.
The painter guy Bob, And then,
Bob Ross.
if I was lucky, my dad would let me watch Seinfeld with him. So
Did you ever watch Newhart, which took place in Vermont?
Yeah.
Newhart? No.
Oh my
No.
God.
I've heard about
Boy, you're really
it.
missing out. Stacy, you quick.
Me?
Yeah.
Laverne and Shirley.
Laverne and Shirley.
Laverne and
Classic.
Shirley. Yeah.
Bring back Solid Gold. That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
I
yeah,
love
Solid Gold was awesome.
Yeah, Solid
Yeah.
Gold.
Quickly before we're out of time, what's the most you've ever paid for a hamburger, and would you pay even more?
Most I've ever paid for a hamburger was from a food truck in Los Angeles, and I got a truffle burger, and it was $17 because it had actual truffle on it, and it was outstanding, and I would happily pay.
It was worth it.
Yeah.
I think didn't we pay $17 for hamburgers at Assembly Row?
Probably.
was definitely not
yeah,
worth
it was
it.
not
A
worth it.
burger dive.
I paid
No, not
$25
for the
for a
dollar, the
hamburger in
fancier
London.
place.
You paid $25 for a
because the
hamburger?
pound
Get out of
is
my
like a
studio.
two to one.
I lived in London with a
Exchange
2-to-1
rate.
exchange rate and overpaid for bad food many
Yeah.
times.
Devastating.
Gee, I don't know, like $12.
Okay.
It was all right.
We don't have time to arm wrestle. I'm sorry, but who do you think would win these two arm wrestling?
Stacy and Ken.
Yeah.
Probably Stacy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I have very
Yeah,
weak arms.
alright, good.
No upper body strength. Yeah.
All right, everybody.
Time, so it's good to just talk about it. Not actually.
All right, here's the point, everybody. Ken Reid is a huge, I would almost say bulging comic talent in this town.
No, Dan Bulger's the bulging comic.
He's a no damn bulger. He stopped going to the shows.
and we are lucky to have him on the show.
Thank you.
And I encourage everybody to listen to his podcast. It's called the TV Guidance Counselor.
Please do.
And where's the best way to get to TV Guidance Counselor?
They can go to tvguidancecounselor.com, and I always post SoundCloud downloadable links on there, or it's on iTunes if people use that.
Also-
on your podcast app.
Also, I feel like Ken and I would hang if we had a lounge to hang in, like a purple pit situation.
Yeah, I was on a conversation pit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's try to work that out.
We could do that.
Okay, good. Heavy Necker, quick. We have less than 30 seconds.
Next gig is actually, 2 gigs this week. Friday, Sammy's Patio. Saturday, Chit Chat Lounge in Haverhill.
Beautiful. Sammy's Patios, Chit Chat Lounge. Sleazegrinder Super Show on Friday with Gracie. That should be great. Next week, we're just going to do a banter show. It's been a while since we sat around and bantered.
We just got a banter, man.
We're just going to banter, that's all.
The banter
We should
menace.
talk about those records we got, man.
Facebook.com/Sleazegrinder or sleazegrinder@gmail.com if you want us to check out your stuff. That's it for us. Thanks once again to Ken Reid. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week on the Sleazegrinder Super Show.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.